in the late 50s, Vauxhall launched the Series 1 Victor, which is this car. It's a scaled-down version of a 57 Chevy, really. They were quite popular. They sold 400,000 nearly, and half of them cars went for export to, I think, 83 countries.
I think that this Vauxhall Cresta and the Victor done very well for Vauxhalls till they started falling to pieces. I went downhill then rapidly. The scrapyards liked them. They were full of them, stacked up out everywhere. Hundreds of them. There was more in the scrapyards than there was in the factories.
In the mid-60s, really, Vauxhall found itself in a position of building very worthy family cars, but they were four-cylinder and six-cylinder based, and they were quite large cars. And what was happening all around us was that other manufacturers were bringing out far smaller, far more fuel-efficient and well-packaged cars. And the solution for us was the Vauxhall Viva.
Morning, David. Where's the tea?
It won't be a moment, Joe.
Good big doors, open wide too. That's a help.
Another working light, please. Thanks. Now I want to show the bucket-type front seats, the instrument panel, the parcel shelf.
I like this.
Yes, the two-colour trim and the new armrest. Here, where's all that going?
In the boot.
You'll never get all that lot in. The wrap-around rear seat, the padded armrest.
Okay if I try for size, Joe?
Help yourself. Biggest cameraman in the business.
See? Bags of room. Polishes itself. Magic mirror, they call it.
Up to 80, no trouble at all. Big brakes.
How's about that then, Joe?
4-speed all-synchro gearbox.
You know, I think I'll get a Vauxhall Viva myself.
The Viva moved Vauxhall into a new area, and their marketing right from the start was very safe, and as with previous marketing, very family-orientated, so that their materials showed happy families. There's one brochure I recollect with a father looking at his son with a small model boat, mother smiling proudly at her daughter. You have shots of a Viva against a timbered building. You have shots of Vivas on holiday. But of course, when they were on holiday, they were on rather windy beaches in England. They weren't in exotic locations.
This is certainly the car for men who want to get there. But as all days are not summer, not all drivers care so much about making fast journey time. The man who drives for economy, with some care, can get 50. And money saved on petrol for many families today is money to spend on other needful things. Things for the home, maybe.
The Viva GT was basically a ordinary Vauxhall Viva, but with all the Victor mechanicals squeezed into it, modified and uprated. It was basically a big car inside a small body, and it was the first true 100 mile per hour family saloon.
The best thing about the Viva GT is its speed. The torque from the engine really does thrust you back into the seat. I fell in love with these cars when I was 14 years old. When I was able to drive, when I was 17, couldn't afford to buy a Viva GT. I could not afford to run one either. The insurance costs were colossal.
They went a little bit overboard on the styling. The matte black bonnet and the silver wheels and 4 chrome tailpipe for the exhausts was a bit boy racerish for 1968. What we've got to realise is that this car was launched when the Morris Minor was still on the road and was a normal everyday car. And so a car that looked like this was a bit over the top.
Motorsport beckoned to Vauxhall in the late 60s. It was something that many other manufacturers were successful with, and it obviously had some effect on the marque image. And really, before the Viva and its sports clones, the Viva GT and then the Forenza, we didn't really have a car that was suitable for motorsport.
Star of the Vauxhall range, she's an engineering thoroughbred. The direct descendant of a very successful motor racing team, the dealer team Vauxhall.
It was really a General Motors policy of the day that said that General Motors division shouldn't be directly involved in motorsport. So the way round that for the enthusiasts of the day was to get the dealers to go racing for us. So we formed a team called Dealer Team Vauxhall, DTV, and really we had an amazing driver, a man with a great character called Jerry Marshall. And Jerry used to drive the Viva GTs and then the Forenzas in what was then saloon car racing. And really we became synonymous with success in the saloon car field, particularly with the Forenza. The involvement with motorsport was quite crucial. It's very difficult to evaluate in pound note terms what it does for you, but definitely people identify with a successful motorsport product, even if they are only able to afford the ordinary version of the car. In the mid-1970s, Vauxhall really found itself in a deep crisis. For a variety of reasons, sales were absolutely rock bottom. And in fact, I was with the company at the time, and if I remember rightly, we were down to about 7.5% market share. And really, I think General Motors had so many attempts at breathing life into Vauxhall that they really felt they should perhaps lock the door and throw the key away this time. So it was crisis time.
Vauxhall looked towards the 1980s and introduced an entirely new range of cars, the Cavaliers.
I joined the company back in '74. The Viva was coming towards the end of its life, really, and then we started to build the Mark I Cavalier. I suppose towards the end of the Mark I, these turned out to be rather desperate times for Vauxhall. We had to endure a lot of short-time working, 3-day week. The scene was one of empty conveyors, glum faces. I myself wasn't too happy. I was trying to say to get married at the time. Very difficult for me to do. But there was a project in the wind, and it was a replacement, which was going to be a Mark II Cavalier. It was almost as if it was almost a different company. The car just took off. The most significant thing, it was a front-wheel drive. All our main rivals were still struggling along with rear-wheel drive cars. The all-new engine was a fuel-injected, powerful engine, which made it very economical, made it very competitive. I think it was a really user-friendly car because it soon became a favourite of the fleets. All the fleet buyers were going Cavalier. And when you consider that 75% of probably all major manufacturers, what they build go to fleet cars, that was a good competitive market to get in.
Cavalier was also marketed as the family car. And if you bought a Cavalier, you were going to be very safe, very respectable, and you have cricketing scenes, for example, in modern Cavalier brochures. You have very much the traditional staples of the English scene. No suggestion that if you buy a Cavalier that you're being at all radical. Nothing extravagant happened in a Cavalier.
The Cavalier convertible is very much a collectible item now. It's recognised throughout the classic car world as such. My passion for Cavalier convertibles probably dates back to when I was a young lad. Driving a Cavalier convertible makes me feel on top of the world. The hood's down, you've got a family of 4 in it, off on holiday or just for a drink down the pub. You just can't beat it. Wonderful feeling. Wind in the hair, brilliant. When we were building the first Cavalier, I was at the very beginning of the process. I'm pretty sure I'm the only one that's actually been there throughout the 3 Cavaliers we've been building over the last 20 years.
The modern Vauxhall is an extremely good vehicle. It's catering for the mass market. It's a different total market to that which Vauxhall's originally catered for. One may not think of Vauxhall as a luxury car. At that time, the Vauxhall was a really sought-after car and an expensive car to buy. Quite different from today, when it is the car for everybody.
Following shortly on Discovery, Science Detectives explores the electronic wars, looking at high-tech criminals who use computers and the internet to appropriate funds and cover their tracks.